And by thanking our host, Mr. Ed Dunlap, who's here somewhere today, and his wife, Anna. The Lamont has obviously been an iconic restaurant in Pittsburgh for many, many years, and this year in particular, they celebrated their 60th year in business. Unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, they weren't able to have many celebrations that they were looking forward to, which was very unfortunate. But we certainly congratulate them on that 60 years. And also for Mr. Dunlap personally, Mr. Dunlap is a very charitable man here in Pittsburgh. He certainly doesn't like to talk about it, but I know firsthand of all he does for the neighborhood and for the community around him. So we appreciate his efforts. And this year as well, he was to celebrate his 50th anniversary with his wife, Anna. They had a big event planned here where they were originally married 50 years ago. But unfortunately, they were not able to do that as well. So we feel bad and we apologize for that, and we thank him for hosting us today and at this facility, which is another fun fact about the Lamont restaurant. It is the only union employee restaurant in Pittsburgh that's not affiliated with a hotel, which is very unusual. Mr. Dunlap is very gracious with his employees, and he treats them like family. So we appreciate his efforts with his employees and making sure they have a safe atmosphere to work in. Turning to our agenda today, we appreciate Governor Wolf coming out to talk to us about his new initiative to help restaurants, bars, taverns, and clubs in the short term. We understand the situation. It's been a long 8 months now. We need Restaurant Cares Act. We need federal money. We have some money at the state level that we need. The governor and I were just talking about earlier. We must allocate this money before the end of the year. We have $1.3 billion. We need to get a restaurant relief package out, and we need to do it very soon. With regards to the restaurant bar industry, there's 3 steps to survival. One is money. We need to provide them money in order to survive. The CARES money's there. We need to take action. It needs to be a bipartisan effort when we get back to Harrisburg. 2 is time, and the governor's going to talk about that today. We need time for various businesses for their fees, and he's going to talk about licensing fees and that today. But whether it's their sales tax that's due to the state or their local municipalities, we need to make sure we put payment plans together so that these restaurants are able to maintain capital to stay in business. And last, and perhaps most importantly, we need to provide hope for these industries, that we're going to be here for them in the long haul. They've been part of our communities for many, many years. Many celebrations take place in the local restaurants and taverns, and they've always been there for us, and we need to make sure that we will be there for them in the long term. So I do want to kick things off by thanking the governor for being here. We look forward to partnering with him and his initiatives to move the industry forward. And I will turn over the microphone to our county leader, Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald, who's done a great job in leading the county through this pandemic. Again, it's a very difficult time. There's no guide, there's no roadmap to figure out how we get to the next step. But we all try to work together to make sure things are safe for our families. And want to commend Rich and the governor for their efforts in that as well. And I will turn it over to Rich. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Representative Deasy, and it's great to be here in your district, and also joined very much and want to thank the legislative leaders who are here today, starting with Senator Fontana. We're also in his state Senate district, and Representative Gainey and Representative Wheatley, who also have been great partners in what we're doing, what we've gone through. And as Representative Deasy said, there was no roadmap to this. There was no look to see what the last administration did or look to see what the last House or Senate did. This has come upon us that nobody expected. I want to thank the governor really for his leadership. When you think about where we are as a state represented by this governor's leadership compared to other states with a lot of densely populated areas, the fact that our numbers are much better than some of our counterparts like Florida, Texas, et cetera, and this governor's leadership with Secretary Levine has really been instrumental, and they've really helped us. And I can tell you, Dr. Bogan here in Allegheny County has really relied on the governor and his team to keep us safe and keep us is operating as much as we can. And the one thing we have really learned through this is we can have a lot of normal operations if people cooperate, if people are conducting themselves with the masks and the distancing and the things that we know, whether it be office operations, whether it be construction, manufacturing, retail, schools, et cetera. When people are really working together and being cooperative, we know we can be successful in dealing with this pandemic. Again, this governor has just been a tremendous leader to be able to, guide us through this. We still have obviously some time to go until that vaccine comes, but until then, we need to continue to help our industries that have been most affected. Obviously, the hospitality and restaurant industry and entertainment industries have really been affected, where you have gatherings of people together that have been limited. So, as I've always said from the very beginning, still go to your favorite restaurant and still, patronize them. Do it by takeout, do it in ways that are safe, but these restaurants are great parts of our economy and our communities, and we still want to we still want to go there and order the food that we always order and do it safely and do it in a good way. So now let me turn this over to the governor. I want to thank him for coming here to Pittsburgh and Allegheny County and being always a champion and always a partner that helps us move this region forward. Our governor, Governor Tom Wolf.
So thank you, County Executive Fitzgerald. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Ed. And most of all, thank you, Mr. Dunlop. Thank you for hosting this once again. It's great to be back. I've been here a number of times before. It is a great restaurant, and what a legacy that you've left to Pittsburgh in so many ways. But thank you for having us here. I want to just compliment this area. I want to compliment everybody who is who are the leaders of Allegheny County and Pittsburgh. This area has done a phenomenal job with this COVID-19 pandemic. This has not been easy for anybody. I keep saying I've been in politics now for less than 6 years. Before that, I was in business. None of us have ever faced anything like this. And we're trying to do the best we can to make right decisions to keep people safe. And I look at counties all across Pennsylvania. In Allegheny County, this area has done a phenomenal job of keeping people safe in conditions that we've never seen before. We are definitely in uncharted waters, and your leaders here have done a phenomenal job. So congratulations on a job well done. Thank you for your leadership. And I keep saying it's really nice to have all of these folks in leadership, because I shamelessly call on them frequently for ideas, advice, and suggestions, and they have been really helpful, very constructive in helping me out and helping all of Pennsylvania through this pandemic. So thank you again for that, and again thanks for that introduction, Rich. I appreciate that. But as you all know, this pandemic has created challenges for everybody in Pennsylvania, but I think it's not a secret that the biggest, if not, or at least one of the biggest challenges have been faced by the hospitality industry, restaurants and hotels and bars. They have been particularly hard hit by this virus. And the reality is the virus really does well when people come close together, as you do in restaurants and bars, but that's not the fault of the restaurants. But it's also something that has hit all of us, because we all like to get together for meals. That's something that we do as human beings. And so restaurants are central to who we are as humans. The ability, the desire we all have to get together, share a meal, whether it's at home or in a restaurant. And so this has hit all of us really hard. But it's the economic and financial hardship for the restaurant industry in that segment of our economy has been really severe. So restaurateurs in Pennsylvania have always been committed to providing safe and comfortable spaces for us to do what we do naturally. That is to enjoy good food and good company. And again, COVID-19 has taken so much from Pennsylvanians, including much of the comfort and joy that we all derive from coming together for a good meal. This disease, again, it thrives when people get together in close company. And it hits at the heart of what makes the bar and restaurant industry so important. It makes the act of gathering more dangerous. That's the fact. And its airborne nature makes it particularly threatening when people get together and take their masks off, which you have to do when you're eating. So it's really tough. Now, I know that restaurant owners like Ed actually are committed to keeping their employees and their customers safe. From the start of this pandemic, the vast majority of bar and restaurant owners have followed safety precautions and have invested in new procedures and new supplies to try to keep their patrons and their employees safe. Unfortunately, we've seen that even when owners, employees, and patrons do everything right, the very nature of COVID continues to make gatherings in restaurants at full capacity really dangerous. It's tough. But that's not the fault of the restaurant owners. That's not their fault. And it's not their fault that COVID has hit their industry particularly hard. It's not their fault, and therefore they should not be forced to bear the financial burden of this alone. And that's why I have advocated, along with the folks here, for direct financial support to the bar and restaurant industry for months, both at the state level and at the federal level. I have repeatedly called for Congress to act on the restaurants bill, which is a $120 billion effort to support the restaurant industry. And this, in the fall agenda I laid out this past August, it's hard to believe, 2 months ago, I asked Pennsylvania's General Assembly to take steps, several steps, to provide support to our hospitality, leisure, and service industry, including restaurants and bars. I called for 4 things. First, I called on the General Assembly to offer alcohol tax cancellation, or at least reduction, for 6 months. Second, I asked them to allow the hospitality industry to purchase alcohol at near cost for 6 months. Third, I proposed that $225 million additional dollars be directed into the Small Business Assistance Program. Pennsylvania has done a really good job of getting money out to small businesses. In fact, we're a model in the country for doing that, because, as you know, CARES Act funding has often gone to the bigger businesses and has skipped the smaller businesses. Pennsylvania, we've actually done a good job, and we're a model. Fourth, I proposed another $100 million in forgivable loans and grants be directed to the hospitality, leisure, and service industry. All those things would be a help. All those things are an effort to say, okay, let's recognize reality. That virus is out there. That virus is out to get us. Let's not blame the folks that do things that bring people together, that make it easy for that virus to infect us. Let's actually financially address the issues that restaurants face as a result of that reality. And that's what I'd like to do. Those specific requests have obviously not yet been taken up by the Republican-led General Assembly. And again, we worked out a way to appropriate $2.6 billion of our CARES Act funding. We still have over $1 billion left, as Representative Deasy said. We need to get that out, and if we don't get it out by the end of the year, December 31st, we're not going to be able to use it. This is money that we need to get out, and we need to target it to companies that have suffered the most, like restaurants. Bars and restaurants need and deserve our help. Again, Representatives Deasy, Wheatley, Gainey, and Senator Fontana, and many of their fellow Democratic colleagues have engaged with me and my administration to find immediate ways and additional ways to help restaurants. Thanks to these conversations, I'm pleased to be here today to announce new measures that we're going to take to support bars and restaurants in the Commonwealth. I am working right now with the Liquor Control Board, Pennsylvania, to waive licensing fees for restaurants, clubs, bars, and hotels for the entire coming year. Thank you. If we can do that, that will save them $20 million over the course of the year. Now, all this is in addition to what we've already proposed together. I expect that the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board will consider this action to waive these fees at their next board meeting. I fully expect that they're going to do this. Waiving these fees will remove a burden from restaurant owners during a difficult time. And this is an important step toward helping bars and restaurants retain, as Representative Deasy said, the capital they need to weather the storm of COVID-19. And again, I want to thank Senator Fontana and Representatives Deasy, Gainey, and Wheatley, along with their Democratic colleagues, for their advocacy on behalf of these efforts and for their unceasing efforts to provide support to the bar and restaurant industry. Restaurant and bar owners have gone above and beyond during this pandemic to serve their communities as safely as possible, but COVID continues to hurt this industry in a particularly awful way. They need our help now, and my administration will continue to fight for the funding they deserve for as long as I can. Again, the restaurant industry needs financial help, concrete help. Not smoke and mirrors, not something that just pretends that the virus doesn't exist, but concrete help, and that's what this is, and that's what we're proposing, and I really appreciate the support and the leadership that I've gotten from this delegation. So now I'm real happy to turn this over to Senator Wayne Fontana. He's going to talk more about the senator. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. He was nice to me, right? Have to twist his arm too much. It's all good. But I want to thank the governor, obviously, first for coming to Pittsburgh, coming to Mount Washington's Grandview Avenue. Governor, as you said, you've been here before, so you can see what a dynamic view this is, one of the best in the whole country. It's certainly a tourist attraction when folks come to this region. And, of course, to be here at the Lamont, as Representative Deasy stated, been here 60 years and is constantly voted one of the best restaurants in Western Pennsylvania. So we're certainly glad to have you here today for that announcement. But the real reason we're here today is to rally around for us here and others in the delegation and to support the governor's efforts to extend a lifeline, the way I look at it, to the restaurant, bar, and tavern industry. I have to mention that the Allegheny County Senate delegation, and the governor referred to that a little bit, and that's Senator Jay Costa, our leader, Senator Pam Iovino, Senator Jim Brewster, and Senator Lindsey Williams, and myself. We proposed earlier in the summer a 7-point plan, and we sent it to the governor, and hoping that one of those, or not all of them, could be adopted along the way, and certainly with some of the federal care dollars. And if we put it all together, it could be very, very substantial and have a great impact on helping the restaurant industry. Well, we're still waiting for some of those federal dollars, but today the state stepped up. And as one of those Senate asks in that 7-point plan was what the governor certainly has proposed today in waiving some of those fees or all those fees. But as you look out over the city of Pittsburgh here, which we all can see so many large towers, right, corporate towers, and we're certainly proud to have them all here in our city. But the heart and soul of our region, of our communities, are small businesses like the restaurants, the bars, and the taverns. So today's announcement is a lifeline that will save the restaurant industry real dollars that can be used to continue their operations in the future. It's a lifeline that provides hope, real hope for that future. So thank you, Governor, for inviting me here to be part of this announcement and this state effort. And it's a big effort, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone here appreciates it. So now I'd like to invite one of my colleagues from the House of Representatives to say a few words. He's someone who does a terrific job representing the residents of the eastern city, of our city neighborhoods and communities. Representative Ed Gainey.
Good afternoon. First, I too want to congratulate Mr. Dunlap. It's 60 years of business. That in itself is an amazing accomplishment. So before I go any further, congratulations on that. Secondly, I want to thank the governor. I want to thank the governor for being here, for coming to Western Pennsylvania and making this announcement. I also want to thank our county exec, Rich Fitzgerald, who, you know, Rich, he's always around when it comes to making progress for Allegheny County. And to my colleagues, because we've been fighting a heck of a fight up at the state to get some of this relief. In the East, I come, you know, some of my bars and taverns are in disadvantaged communities, real disadvantaged communities, and they're economic drivers in our communities. They're major. And so when I come here today and I hear them talking about waiving fees, that's a great beginning to saying that we want to remove some of the barriers and some of the financial problems that you have. For that, I want to thank the governor, because that is thinking outside the box to find out how we can assist the industry. Secondly, we are coming on to the holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Day. What hope we could give the bar and tavern community if we can do something bipartisan with the $1 billion in CARES funds that's still at the state, if we could come together to give them some relief, what type of holiday spirit can we pump back into them? Right now, we need to be coming together from a bipartisan standpoint, working together because we know, as Senator Fontana said, that these small businesses are the backbone of our economy. And if we can help them, particularly during this holiday season, so that they can have a great time with their family, so that they can do things in our community to bring people together during this pandemic in a responsible way, so that we can see everybody happy, we'll be doing something great for this Commonwealth. And so we're hoping that we can get bipartisan support to move this CARES Act. But it takes all of us coming together. And the more that we do that, the more we can move Pennsylvania forward. So, Governor, again, I thank you for being here. And I want to bring up my colleague who has been fighting nonstop in this, for this development. Please give a warm hand for Representative Jake Wheatley.
I keep saying, I think Rich has it so that I'm the one that follows Gainey all the time when we come out to try to embarrass me or something. But I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Ed and Anna for allowing us to be here and for your steadfastness in staying in the fight. And 60 years is certainly an accomplishment that we all should congratulate and welcome. Unfortunately, oh, and by the way, Governor, I really appreciate when you come in town, I get invited to nice places like this because Chairman Deasy has never invited me over here until you came to town. So come back more. But in all seriousness, I think it's unfortunate that our restaurants, bars, and tavern owners have been caught in a political fight that really makes no sense. Because we all know the real issue here isn't one that was brought on intentionally. It was brought on by a pandemic. And our first order should always be to protect the citizenry of our Commonwealth. And I think the governor and all of us in Harrisburg believe that as a principle. And I think we are trying to do a balanced reopening that's safe, that's helpful, and that continues to grow in a right way for all of our citizens. And that's why I think it's so critical for us to not only embrace what the governor is asking for today with the waiving of those fees, but to be serious about coming up with a plan to reinvest the over $1.3 billion that we still have from our federal CARES dollars to help these entrepreneurs get through this difficult time at the same time while we're trying to balance the safety and security of our citizens. So what I'm really proud of and very thankful for, and I said this not only to the governor, to people who I've spoken with, I think this governor, Governor Wolf, has done a hell of a job of taking all of the arrows, all of the slings, but being very focused and serious about, number one, protecting all citizens. There was a reason why we're recognized as one of those states that kept the numbers down and kept people safe from dying because of this pandemic. And although we might not all be happy about how we are progressing and reopening our economy, what we all should be celebrating is that not a lot of our citizens, or not the numbers that we've seen in other states, have died from this. And that's something we should be embracing. That's something that we should be building from. And this, what we're recognizing in this is what we really need to do is financially help our entrepreneurs get through this time. And those who want to be serious about that, they will work with us in a bipartisan way to provide those resources, to provide those supports, and not to continuously throw up unnecessary roadblocks to try to play political games. So I'm glad I'm here. I'm here to support. I'm here to work across the aisle and with this administration. And at the end of the day, you know, even though he had me outside of my district, and you know, I hate that in a lot of ways, but I'm happy to be here in a place like this to signify our real commitment to restaurant, bars, and taverns, because for all of us, this is really the essence of what we are about, helping our small entrepreneurs continue to grow. And with that, I'm going to bring up Governor Tom Wolf.
Thank you, Jake. Now, all of us would be happy to take questions. Yes?
Governor, have you received assurances from the State Liquor Control Board that they will indeed agree with this? And we've spoken to a lot of restaurants who say they're unclear if they can even make it to January. What is your message to them who say they need more immediate relief?
Well, two things. First of all, the Liquor Control Board is an independent agency, so their board will meet, and at their next meeting, they will, I hope, make the right decision here. But the second thing is, I think it's all the more reason why we need to act quickly to dispense the money that I called for them to the General Assembly to dispense back in August. As you know, 2/3 of the CARES Act money that came to Pennsylvania, we've already sent out or appropriated, and that was done in a bipartisan way with the General Assembly and the administration. We have over $1 billion left. I'd like to see the same bipartisan spirit send that out. And as in the first round, I think we know more and we're even better. We know that the restaurant industry has been specifically hard hit. In the early going, we had broad business closures. We had shelter in place. We haven't done that for months, back since, what, April, May. But we have the targeted restrictions that remain have really continued to hit because the virus continues to hit the restaurant industry hard, and I think we ought to be spending money on that. That won't take till January. If we do that, we can do that. Well, I guess you're not in session anymore, but they're coming back the week after the election, so we still have plenty of time to do it. Let's get it done. That's my call. Yes.
You mentioned that we haven't been in stay-at-home orders for months, but is there a chance that we could go back to some kind of stay-at-home or lockdown?
No. I mean, well, who knows? There's a chance, but I mean, we have done everything in Pennsylvania to make sure that doesn't happen. We're in a very different place than we were back in March. In March, if you'll recall, we could count in the hundreds the number of tests we can do. The latest test yesterday, I think we did 38,000 in one day. And we're still growing that. That's just the PCR tests. We're also now growing this new the antigen tests. So in addition to that, we are, you add those two things together, we're close to 40,000, and we're moving past that very quickly. We have built up all kinds of inventories so that we are now in a different position with personal protective equipment. We track on a regular basis the availability of ICU beds, both pediatric and adult, and just general hospital beds, and we have capacity there that we didn't have back in the early days. You remember Governor of New York talked about the need for ventilators? Remember, that was a big thing, and I think he was talking about they needed tens of thousands. As of yesterday, we have 98 people with COVID-19 on ventilators, and we have 6,000 in Pennsylvania. So, we're not using what we have. We have capacity that we didn't have before. One of the things that I look at is the hospitalization rate. That's a key thing. And we knew that there was a resurgence coming, and the number of cases are higher now. We had, we're averaging actually just under 2,000 if we keep going the way we have for the last 2 days. But the hospitalization rate is, as of yesterday, was around 900, I think. Now compare that to where we were at the height of the pandemic. We had 3,000 people hospitalized for COVID-19. 3,000. We're at 900. Now that's up from where it was over the last couple of weeks. I mean, we've been down as low as 400, but it's up. And the percentage of people in intensive care is way down from where it was when we had thousands of people being hospitalized. So we are in a different. We know more about the disease. We can treat it in a better way. Our hospitals have capacity now that they didn't have back in the early going. So I think what you'll see, what's much more likely is the targeted things that we've been doing, and that's why restaurants have been hard hit. That the virus really affects what people do when they get together. So congregate care facilities have been hard hit. Prisons have been hard hit. We're concerned about colleges and universities. But all those things, I think we have a sense of what we can do. We know more about the disease. And so I think those are the things, those targeted, focused things are much more likely than anything, the broad-based draconian things we did back in March and April.
I mean, given the lawsuits that your administration has faced in response to those shutdowns, would anything change about the way those any potential future shutdowns would happen or could happen?
I think the lawsuits have pretty much been won, and the ones where we've lost have been appealed and won. I think the recognition is that we were all in uncharted waters. We were trying to do what we could to keep Pennsylvanians safe in the absence of formal knowledge about exactly what we could do, and in the absence of a lot of resources. We're now in a different place. We know more. We have more resources, and we can do things. I think in any democracy, when there's an emergency, you need someone to stand up and act on behalf of the citizens that elected her or him to office, and I think that hasn't changed. I don't think, again, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think any of the things that people have tested have overcome that basic fact. The question is always out there whether we've done exactly the right thing, whether we could have done something better. In hindsight, lots of things that we could do better. But I think we've done pretty well as a state. And I got to say, the real reason we've done well is because most Pennsylvanians have really done a great job. Most Pennsylvanians are wearing masks. Most Pennsylvanians are practicing social distancing and really taking care when they go out to a place where they might be with other people. Pennsylvania has done a great job because Pennsylvanians are really great, and I think that has made a big difference in this pandemic for us. Yes.
Governor Wolf, some people might hear your answer about the fact that we've gotten better about treating it. We know more about
Right.
the disease, as some restaurant owners are saying, so let us open up more. The Republican legislation seemed to address that. You vetoed that legislation. What do you say to critics who say, look, just let us open up more. We're better at treating this. We can manage this. Let us make our own decisions about what to do with our restaurants.
Right. So actually, as you know, we did open up more. We used to be at 25%. I think, Mr. Dunlop, you're still 25% here, but going to 50%, and we had 25 maximum indoor and 250 maximum outdoor. Relax that to actually take account of the various contexts that these operations operate in. But the truth remains that when people gather together, that virus really likes it. I hate that. I mean, I hate the fact that gravity exists too. But there's not a lot I can do about that. And I think what we need to do is we can ignore reality. We can close our eyes like when we were kids and say, I can't hear you, so, or we can say, okay, a practical solution here is to say, okay, the reality is that virus is out there. That virus likes it when people get together and take their masks off. What are we going to do about that? Well, I don't know how you can just sort of say, okay, let's suspend that reality. That virus has never come to me and said, okay, I'll give you a pass on this. What we can do, though, is say, let's recognize the financial hardships that causes. And that's what I think we Democrats are trying to do. And I think that's what we ought to do. And let's recognize, whatever I say, whatever the General Assembly says, they can't undo that reality. And there are a lot of people who are not voluntarily. They're not going to come to restaurants. They're not going to come to bars. So I'm not even sure that that's even a choice we have. So I think the best thing for us to do is say, okay, people might not come out to the extent they used to come out to bars and restaurants. And we really ought to recognize that if they do, that they are, whether wittingly or unwittingly, putting themselves in harm's way. So let's address that problem, and that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Governor, doesn't this come down to a power struggle over the $1 billion, over who gets to distribute the money and how? And what can you do to break that logjam with Republicans in the legislature?
Well, I'm not sure how it comes down to a power struggle. We all had to, as I say, 2/3 of the money has already been distributed, and we didn't. I don't remember it. Did
Senator Costa said the other day in a Zoom conference that if the money isn't spent by November 30th, I think he said, it goes back into a pool and it gets distributed to other counties that have not received money so far.
I thought it was December 31st.
It might have been December 31st. I thought he said November 30th. But either way, there was an incentive for Republicans to wait.
Well, okay, again, I'm new at politics, and this is election season. So maybe the way we've worked together before this came up has been suspended temporarily for the election. So I don't know what's going to happen after the election, but I don't think this is a power struggle. I don't think this is a matter of Republican versus Democrat. This is money that has come to Pennsylvania, to the citizens of Pennsylvania, from Washington, and we have worked together, the General Assembly and the executive branch, to distribute 2/3 of that. And all I'm calling for is that, again, it's not a power struggle. Let's work together, just as we did there, to distribute this and allocate this to the folks who need it the most. And I think there's broad agreement, as you can see from the legislation that came from the Republican side, that the restaurant industry has been particularly hard hit here. The only difference of opinion might be as to what we ought to do about it. But I think there is a general agreement that the restaurant industry has been hit hard. I think this is a very practical way to address that issue. Yes, one more question.
Governor, with the temperatures dropping and outdoor dining in Pittsburgh not really being a solution for much longer, some restaurant owners have said to me they fear that the capacity limits won't increase until the spring. What do you say to that, and what do you need to see in order to change the capacity limits?
Well, as I say, I already did change the capacity limits. It used to be 25, and now I think we've done it in a much more realistic way, so that it takes into account the size of the venue. I think the caps are now up to 1,500 in indoor facilities of any kind. I think it's 1,500. And 7,500 outside, and there's a formula for doing that. But I think we've all been very willing to listen. We want to be reasonable about this. Again, we're trying to recognize the reality, the harsh, unfortunate, frustrating reality that virus exists out there, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep people safe, but we also don't want to be stupid. We want to be practical and say, okay, you have a facility that has more space. Maybe you shouldn't be locked into a one-size-fits-all cap. So I've already done that, and I think you're right. The cold weather is coming. We've always anticipated that there would be a resurgence in the fall as we get into flu season, and we're already seeing early signs that that's in fact what's happening. So we want to keep our eye on that. But I think, you know, we've been trying to do the right thing and go as fast as this virus. That's the constraint. That's what's limiting what we can do here. We're trying to go as fast as that virus will allow us to go. But I think to go faster than that would be to court disaster. Okay, thank you very much.
Canvassing update that you could share?
Let me say that this is, again, I'm a rookie in politics, but when I was in business and you negotiate, if someone came to me and said, we have a deal for you, and I say, okay, and they walk away from that, I don't get that. But that's what's been happening. And so right now, as of Tuesday was the last conversation, and there is no deal at this point.
Do you have any plans to use executive powers to allow for grievance?
I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.